Welcome to 247 Real Talk. I'm your host, Julian Perry, and it's a pleasure to be here with you once again for another episode of 247 Real Talk podcast. I hope you had a great week since we last got a chance to connect. It's been pretty decent weather now in New York, as today was almost 85 degrees. Tomorrow is promising to be 86. And even though the weekend, Memorial Day weekend, is going to drop a bit, it's promising to be dry at least through to Memorial Day, which unfortunately may have some rain. In case I sound different today, I'm still under the weather. You know, kids in the house with school, even though they're homeschooling, they still have their social events and they bring home colds. And it's hard for us parents to keep ourselves healthy with young kids running back and forth. But I had several topics to discuss today, and couldn't really settle on one, so I've decided I'm going to do something, I guess, called In the News. I've done this kind of episode before. I'm going to talk about two main topics, and that is what's going on with Diddy Combs, and we're going to talk a bit about the Georgia DA running for re-election, Fani. So sit back, relax, and I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back, and like I said, I won't be long. Don't feel that well. I want you also to, first of all, let me do a few things. Let me say thank you so much again for subscribers. They continue to come in decent numbers. I think over the last week, you got a couple hundred more subscribers, and I'm thankful and grateful. These are YouTube subscribers. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you, for you interacting, for you joining, for you to becoming a part of this movement, this real talk, being honest enough to join the conversation, to at least listen for now and hopefully participate when you can. So thank you ever so much for your continued support. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and it continues to be an honor and a pleasure to come to you each and every week. I've also been working on getting live guests again. As I said, my last live video guest I had was Mr. Matanya Gladden for the 200th episodes. And I'm looking to bring more on board. I'm still struggling with a few audio issues as I try to get all this equipment in sync and try to raise and elevate, the level of what I'm providing you each and every week. I know there have been some audio issues. I've been trying to narrow them down. You may not be interested, but so far it's not my podcast board, so I'm trying to see what's going on with the HD recorder. But we'll get to a point where it's all settled and we're back to normal. So real quick for this week, as I said, I'm under the weather. It's been a little difficult to talk. I'm a bit congested, but we'll talk about two things real quick. And that is, this video came out that CNN, I don't want to say it leaked. They put it out there with Diddy Combs beating up his girlfriend, Cassie. I forgot what year it was. After she had filed and settled a lawsuit and he had denied all these claims. I know there are many people out there who have different opinions about this and want to help him. I wouldn't say get past this. I want to deal with his issues. And dealing with his issues is a good thing, but we cannot brush over the fact that this happened. And there was someone else that I think it was today or yesterday filed another lawsuit claiming that she was a model in 2012 or 2016, something like that, and had an interaction with him, which she said resulted in a negative result. I don't want to get into the details because I've listened to the news, I'm not 100% sure, I really glossed over it, and I don't want to say anything that would be taken and used and social media and the internet, and then it turns out to be erroneous. However, the fact of the matter is that based on the video we all saw that we all cringed when we saw, that cannot be the first time that behavior has occurred. Nobody wakes up one morning and behaves like that for the first time. So much like when the courts went through the R. Kelly situation, we have to begin wondering now how many past victims are there, how many current and more recent victims are there, or where does this all end? We know that I think the FBI is involved in investigations, and I have this feeling that this is just the beginning, and that their investigation is going to end up dragging another person through the courts and through the public eye, someone who was revered by fans, supported by fans, adored by fans, and turns out to have a dark, dark shadow and a dark, dark part of their persona. I have to tell you, as a father of a daughter, seeing that video brought a lot of emotions in me. I can tell you what I said to myself. And, I think many fathers like myself would say the same thing. The first thing we say is, that could not be my daughter. Let's list the reasons why. Even though when we say it could not be our daughter, we're not saying that it couldn't happen to her. We're saying this from a position of how we would have reacted. Meaning, we can say things like, we would have taught our daughters that the minute they are dating someone or dealing with someone and they start to see certain signs, it's time to get out. But we know even ourselves have been in relationships where all the signs have been there that this is a horrible relationship, and we've stayed. We've become oblivious to the sign. We're so blinded by either love, or we're blinded by the thought of defeat or the thought of heartache or heartbreak, and we continue to pursue even though we know it's bad for us. But from the perspective of a father, I would have to work really hard to keep myself level. That is someone's daughter. And if that was my daughter, I know we have a legal system, we have a police system, we have all these things in place to deal with crime. But the emotional part of me would be my struggle in trying not to get that to be the better part of me and the part of me that makes me react. Kicking this young lady. She, at one point, it looks like she lost consciousness. That is someone's daughter. He has daughters, if I remember correctly. No father wants to see that happen to their child. No sibling wants to see that happen to their sibling. And we live in a society where people react and end up in a lot of trouble because they react so viciously that they themselves become the offender, the perp. We must always remember that irrespective of what happens, barring a crime, meaning that you're attacked somewhere, or someone's robbing somewhere, or someone's raping, or someone's doing something where you have to get physical, verbal altercations, especially relationship altercations, can easily be either resolved or you can depart from those situations. Staying and getting involved to the point where you get so heated that you lose your temper and you become physical is unfortunately something that I think was born in male chauvinism and has remained a part of the male psyche. And men like myself who pride themselves in not being being a non-violent person to to other people. People like myself who have not been have never been in the place of attacking someone's child. I know that I am happy to say that because with my daughter, I can't be there every day to protect her as she gets older. But I honestly can't tell you how I would react to seeing a video like that. Especially a father who's doing it. The problem that happens here is people get rich from many different ways. Hard work, entrepreneurship, or whatever. But the power that money brings has to be skillfully handled. The minute that power that money brings becomes part of your persona, part of your invincibility, you're going down a path of destruction. I don't know where this all ends. You don't know where this all ends. But I can tell you that from where I sit, from where I stand, or from where I sit, from where I look on, from the things I've heard, from the anticipation of more coming out now that video is aired, there's a rough, tough road ahead for Sean Diddy Combs. And there are brushes with law enforcement that unfortunately may end in his demise. We don't know what's yet to be uncovered. And I am not pointing fingers because I don't know the whole story. When I say I'm not pointing fingers, don't get me wrong. What we saw in that video was wrong. No questions asked. I'm saying I'm not pointing fingers in terms of saying how many more are out there. But as a father, as a person, I find it hard to believe that there are not many more out there or several more out there. Coming on social media and apologizing after denying it for so long comes with very little credibility. People, fans, people who supported his entrepreneurship are the people who gave him everything he has today. He needs to find a way to I don't know how you can, I don't even know, I'm trying to say he needs to find a way to make this right, but I'm not sure he can. We have to wait to see what the victims say and what else comes out. But I would say to every single man out there, we all have moments of anger. Women too. Let me be careful because there are women abusers out there. But the point I'm making to everyone is keep your hands to yourself. If you have to use your hands in defense, let it be justifiable defense. Not you're angry with someone, you're powerful, you're rich, so you feel you have a right. They have an old saying that may seem nonsensical in the Caribbean, but two of them. One, they say what doesn't come out in the wash comes out in the rinse, and what's hidden in the dark comes to light. That's a true saying. There are a few cases where we've heard people go to the grave and take their secrets, but that's not the norm. Please, let's understand that whomever a person is, they have a right to be who they are. They have a right to disagree with you. You have a right sometimes to even get into a debate that gets heated, but you do not have the right to hurt someone, to put your hands on anyone. Being in a relationship is exactly that. It's supposed to be a union of love and caring. When you get to the point where you feel you need to lash out, then that's not the relationship you need any longer. And you need to walk away from it. And if someone is walking away from you, you need to let them walk away. Don't think that running behind them and beating them and holding them and overpowering them and intimidating them will cause them to stay. It might delay their departure, but ultimately the end will be bad. Either death or destruction. The second topic I'm going to talk about, real quick, I'm losing my voice, is Fani Willis. I haven't spoken about this on most of my podcasts because I've been watching it play out and waiting to see what will happen. So as you know, she's a famous DA from Georgia who indicted ex-President Trump, or who brought the case. I want to say brought the case because I think that the indictment was by a grand jury. Everything has been done to discredit this woman who has brought a case based on evidence and the law. And because we live in such a charged time, because we have this situation where people are going to extremes for their candidates, it has become a dangerous and violent situation. And it's become a situation where people look to discredit and destroy anyone who says anything against their candidate. I watched as the whole effort was made to remove her from the case because of her relationship with the special prosecutor, I believe it was. And while I think it was a bad judgment decision, I'm still struggling to find what, if anything, it has to do with the actual case. If evidence was put in front of a grand jury and a grand jury of peers say there's enough here for an indictment, then the DA follows what the grand jury says and chooses to follow their decision to indict, why are you going after this woman to remove her from the case? If there's nothing to hide, then let the case play out. I mean, like, again, the relationship and the fact that it's a case and the fact that it's such a public case, yeah, that was, poor judgment to appoint the gentleman that she had a relationship with. But I don't see how it impacts the case. The evidence is the evidence. Either there's nothing wrong and no wrongdoing, that's the end of the case, or there is wrongdoing and there are consequences to pay. We don't get these luxuries. How many men, how many people of color? I'm going to go there because the majority of the people in these jails and these are people of color. How many people of color have been exonerated recently because they've gone to jail and been convicted of a crime and spent 18, 19 years in jail only to find they were innocent? How many? How did they end up there? They went to court. There were people, there was one case I remember that I talked about on a previous podcast where everyone threw the book at this kid that they knew on the block. The police did, the judge did. And it turns out that after 18 or 19 years, it was the wrong person. It was someone else with a similar name whose picture was completely different. Nobody brought a case against the judge or the prosecutor, anyone in that case. They went to court and they falsely and what do I want to say? They convicted someone who was innocent. And here we are in a situation where grand jury is listening to the evidence and saying, we think there's enough here to indict, and she's followed their recommendation, and everybody's looking to persecute this lady. Law and order has to be something that we continue to strive for that is equal for all people. I asked my friend Watani the other day about criminal justice, and he basically said, what is that? Because the fact of the matter is there's so many cases that we can cite where there's no such thing as criminal justice. Think about the word criminal justice, justice. Let the rule of the law play out. We've got a governor in Texas, who may disagree with the DA, but let it play out. She just ran her Democratic primary for re-election to her position in Fulton County, and she won. That says that people are happy with the work she's doing. Officials are elected by the people, for the people. Let the justice system play out. If we see wrongdoing, like in Texas, and I'm going to have a podcast, an episode about that, and how many cases we have there in Texas where people are being executed and wrongfully convicted, even when there's been evidence that they should be exonerated, even when there's evidence that the execution should have been stayed. We need to understand and live by criminal justice for all. Our whole worlds are preoccupied with what's going on in the news. And we see it blatantly in front of us what's wrong. I was driving behind a gentleman today, and I'm going to be very careful about what I say here because I don't want to go down the path of debate or battling people who choose to be ignorant and say ignorant things and email ignorant things, because apart from the fact that I will block them, I just don't need to deal with that nonsense. There are too many important issues to deal with. But, and let me see if I can grab my phone because I don't remember it exactly and I don't want to misquote it. But this person had a painted mural on their vehicle. Actually, I'm not going to repeat it because it has some vulgarity in it. But let's say they have a picture of the current president with something derogatory on the back of their vehicle. It's either wrap or paint. Either way, they spent a ton of money to do this, to put the president's face up on their vehicle and say something derogatory about him. What is wrong with us? We all have ideological differences. If you're Republican or Democrat, you differ in a lot of things. You go out there, you do your best, you make your case, and then we vote, and who wins, wins. And they get to carry out or make changes or run the country based on their ideology. It's as far as it should go. When you got people spending money to alter the look of their vehicles, to defame or to embarrass or to disrespect the president, the current president, irrespective of something is wrong. It doesn't matter who you believe in or who is your candidate. Someone who does that and disrespects President Biden, it's wrong. Someone who does that and disrespects ex-President Trump is wrong. That's not how we're supposed to live as human beings. We cannot continue to do this. We don't realize how destructive we're being, how foolish, how stupid we've become. What has happened to our brains? What has happened to our sense of decency? What has happened to our morals and ethics? Who have we become? What's going on in this world today is that everything we know to be wrong has become right or okay. It's a shame the way the world exists today and the way people behave, the way people think, the way people blatantly and openly show hatred, prejudice, racism, and think it's okay. They live like there are no consequences. They live that they have decided that there's no God and there's no judgment day, so they can do as they feel. But I warn you that there is a God, there is a creator. If you sit quietly and think enough about who you are, about how you are, about all the inexplicable things about you, you realize that there's bigger than you out there. Take note, take heed. Because in this life, many times in this life before we leave this world, we pay the consequences for our actions. We're supposed to uplift each other. Let's keep on doing the right thing and calling upon others to do the right thing as well. As I said, this is going to be a shorter episode. My voice is really bad. I don't feel the best. But I was so disgusted by what I saw today. And I'm so disgusted by the effort being put out there to discredit Fani Willis because she happened to take on a case of notoriety. And I'm so disgusted by the video I saw of how Sean Diddy treated that young lady that I had to come on here and share these thoughts with you because I'm sure you're disgusted too. Next week, I'll be back to our main topic, and hopefully these distractions don't continue. If I have to address them, I will. But for now, again, I'm under the weather. I apologize for the short episode, and I hope it's enough at least for you to listen, to form your opinion, to share your opinion, and to be part of what will change if these situations no longer occur. Email me whenever you feel like at podcast247realtalk.net. Again, thank you to all of those wonderful people who have joined, the subscribers, and continue to join and continue to grow the channel. I appreciate you. I thank you. I adore you. I exist because of you. All my continuous subscribers and all your continuous support, I thank you all. Until the next time, take care of yourselves, and please take care of each other.